of the United States.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. We now stand 10 years past the midpoint of a century that has witnessed 4 major wars among great nations. Until the latest of our world conflicts, the United States had no armaments industry. American makers of plowshares could, with time and as required, make swords as well. But we can no longer risk emergency improvisation of national defense. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no secret is revealed. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Into the hall to receive a standing ovation from the General Assembly. His address has been awaited with anticipation by the delegates since he assumed office. Every member nation is represented, and even the Cuban representative stands, though he does not applaud the president with the others. Mr. Johnson is quick to reaffirm United States support for the United Nations, and then he outlines the aims of his administration.
The United States wants to cooperate with all the members of this organization to conquer everywhere.
The president's speech receives wide praise from both East and West. Delegates saw in it a continuity of President Kennedy's commitment to pursue world peace above everything else.
Aggression by terror against the peaceful villagers of South Vietnam has now been joined by open aggression on the high seas against the United States of America. It is a solemn responsibility to have to order even limited military action by forces whose overall strength is as vast and as awesome as those of the United States of America. I have instructed Ambassador Stevenson to raise this matter immediately and urgently before the Security Council of the United Nations.
The awesome United States military machine is mounting a force that can face up to any threat. As always, political differences faded in the United States, and leaders of both parties united behind the President to grant him all powers necessary to carry out our commitments to defend world peace.
I shall not seek, and I will not accept the nomination of my party for another term as your president.
At age 56, after 22 years of political battle, Richard Nixon had become the most powerful man in the world. He envisioned nothing less than a new world order, with himself as its architect.
The Great Wall is no longer a wall dividing China from the rest of the world, but it is a reminder of the fact that there are many walls still existing in the world which divide nations and peoples. It is not our common beliefs that have brought us together here, but our common interests and our common hopes. The interest that each of us has to maintain our independence and the security of our peoples, and the hope that each of us has to build a new world order.
Had we not had secret negotiations over a period of time with the Chinese leaders, let me say quite bluntly, there would have been no China Initiative, there would have been no limitation of arms with the Soviet Union and no summit. And had we not had that kind of security and that kind of secrecy that allowed for the kind of exchange that is essential, you men would still be in Hanoi rather than Washington today. And let me say, I think it is time in this country to quit making national heroes out of those who steal secrets and publish them in the newspapers. I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
We have become increasingly at the mercy of others for the fuel on which our entire economy runs. My program was designed to conserve the energy we now have. Although this would increase the cost of energy until new supplies were fully tapped.
Late yesterday, I canceled a carefully planned operation which was underway in Iran to position our rescue team for a later withdrawal of American hostages who've been held captive there since November 4th.
Twice in 2 days, we're spoiling you. As president, it's my solemn duty to ensure America's national security while vigorously pursuing every path to peace. Toward this end, I have repeatedly pledged to halt the decline in America's military strength and restore that margin of safety needed for the protection of the American people and the maintenance of peace.
Just 2 hours ago, Allied air forces began an attack on military targets in Iraq and Kuwait. This military action, taken in accord with United Nations resolutions and with the consent of the United States Congress, follows months of constant and virtually endless diplomatic activity. I've told the American people before that this will not be another Vietnam. We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. I am convinced not only that we will prevail, but that out of the horror of combat will come the recognition that no nation can stand against a world united. No nation.
After 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
Holy f***! My God! Oh my God!
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories.
What did Iraq have to do with what?
The attack on the World Trade Center.
Nothing.
Because after 106 years in America, through the best of times and the darkest of hours, she knows how America can change. If our children should live to see the next century, what change will they see? What progress will we have made?
That we've got now from Al-Qaeda and other terrorist networks, the way we're going to win over the long term is not just militarily. We've got to win over hearts and minds, and what that means is we've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
Are we at one of those moments in history in which there is the necessity for a new world order? A, because of what's taken place in the Middle East, the rise of different kinds of groups, and B, what's happened in Asia, meaning that there has been a shift from the West to the East.
There's a need for a new world order, but it has different characteristics in different parts of the world. I want to make one point about globalization. It's always discussed in economic terms, that everybody is better off. People lose their jobs. Major adjustments have to be made. That's the engine of globalization.
I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.